JD here with Stephanie, my co-host of Uberhuman Secrets. And today we'll be talking about how to work 1,000-hour weeks and still sleep 8 hours a night. Is that possible?
I think, yes, it's a matter of delegating what you're not most efficient at doing.
It's funny because we see at Summa Up, our clients, they run the spectrum of beginning entrepreneurs versus seasoned, right? 7, 8-figure, 9-figure guys, right? And the biggest difference I see is the beginning entrepreneur has this, I'm gonna do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do everything. And they're working these 100-hour weeks, right? And they're working such long 70, 80, 100-hour weeks, right? And they're kind of spinning their wheels, right? Because they have this mindset that, hey, like I'm the only person that can be scaled. And they're not really thinking about the big picture, right? And so really how to kind of amplify your output is really thinking about hiring and hiring top talent so that the business owner, the entrepreneur, the founder, he can start kind of looking at working not in the business, but on the business. And hiring is like really just the biggest secret, I would say, for the guys that are on the rise to 8 figures and 9-figure, the people that had the 9-figure exit. It's really the secret. At Zoom Up, like we think about hiring, Stephanie, in a few ways. We think about when you hire, right? And like the easiest way to think about it is you hire where it hurts. Like what is a constraint stopping you from growing the business? So for example, is a new sales team rep? Is it a new kind of marketing specialist, right? What is a bottleneck? Where do you really need the most help? Is it an operations fulfillment person, right? And you kind of delegate and hire for that where it hurts the most. And the second piece is like, how do you actually do it? And so we think, values are really important. Culture, like, do they fit your operating kind of regime and your paradigm of how you and your company and your values kind of hit the world, right? Do they fit that? One easy way to do that, obviously talk to them, Zoom interviews and so forth. Another piece that was just transformative, personality tests. It sounds simple, but the Ray Dalio principles you test, Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, MBTI, like it's just phenomenal learning about these personality tests because it helps you understand how people think, how they communicate, and how they work. And so kind of leveraging the two with the last point, basically doing like paid assessments and paid trials, like actually working side by side with a potential hire is the best. What doesn't work though, Stephanie, and I've gotten burned a little bit on this, is the credentials aspect. Like seeing somebody going to like a top tier school, it's kind of it's tough for me to say because I dropped out of Stanford and went to MIT, but having somebody like go to Harvard or something or MIT or Stanford, you're just like, wow, right? But that's not necessarily the best thing to look at. And I've gotten burnt a few times, just focusing on, oh, wow, they had, great resume, great track record, great, company they work for. And it's not really it, right?
It's funny because I went to Georgia Tech and, you go to this school that has a fantastic reputation. But in my business and working in my professional life, I feel like most of the talents and the skills that I've learned have been from doing. While going to Georgia Tech was a great networking experience, I think that was the primary benefit. For example, it really depends on what you enjoy learning and what you enjoy doing and acting on. Like what you were saying earlier about delegating tasks. It's a matter of if you have a specific number of hours in a week, everyone has the same number of hours.
You're the bottleneck, right? You're the bottleneck.
Identify, your time is the bottleneck. So identify what you enjoy doing, because even though there's this mindset of just, grind, do what you need to do, you can identify what you enjoy doing to avoid burnout. And this ties into kind of last week's discussion about the healthy mindset and managing stress at work. Identify what you enjoy doing and what you don't enjoy doing, and what you're possibly not as talented at. And because everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. A good entrepreneur can really identify their own strengths and weaknesses and then delegate to people who enjoy doing those things that they're maybe not as strong at.
Just kind of like how you get actually 1,000 hours a week. It really kind of gets back to the equation, right? So I think of work as like the system of outputs, right? And so what is it like output? Like that's like volume. Okay. So volume is what number of times you do something times, leverage, right? Leverage is how much you get out of each time you do it. Really, like when you think of that equation, right? More is, it's like higher volume, higher effort. Like you're capped. Like you can only work 80 to 100 plus hours a week, right? But when you add in talent, when you add in people, you add leverage, right? So you get so much more out of, spending that time orchestrating a marketing person, orchestrating a content creator, orchestrating somebody that can help you with your bottleneck. And that's really what it is. That's a secret of getting the most out of your hours, right? So if there's two businesses, and I'm just trying to say this to illustrate a point, and one person's like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do everything. He's doing the marketing, he's doing the selling, he's doing the back end, he's doing the copy, he's doing everything, right? And they're the same like level, say 100K a month, right? And the other person is like, hey, look, I'm not the best marketer. I'm not the best salesperson. I'm not the best developer. And that other person starts investing some of that 100K into finding somebody that can help him out on those constraints. Well, guess what? He's getting some of his time back, right? And over time, if it's, person A who's, I'm gonna do this versus person B who's delegating and hiring, right? Person B can start over time investing in the business, using the business to help think about the future and scaling up faster. And person B can also sleep better and spend higher quality time with their family and the people that depend on them. And what we see at Summa Up, these people that are on the rise, that are growing entrepreneurs, founders, executives, they have a team of experts, right? They have a tax guy, they have an accounting guy, right? They have a coach, and they have a longevity person like us, right? And what do? We help them get most out of their days. And so we help them change their life in terms of making sure we pick their downside: no cancer, no stroke, no dementia, no heart disease. We reduce the risk of that. How? Diagnostic blood lab testing every quarters. We kind of think about what behaviors they want them to do in terms of supplements and diet and workout and therapeutics they need to take. We offload that, right? Because if you're self-managing your own health, that's one more thing you add to the list. And the last piece is we have this accountability physique kind of transformation coaching program on top of that makes sure that all of them work together, right? So the behaviors, the blood testing, the diagnostics, the coaching platform is just phenomenal. And so when you're kind of on the rise, when you feel like high energy, when you're in the best shape of your life, or you're working towards that, the output is so much higher, right? And you can further amplify like the great work you're doing, but yes, hiring it and so forth. And that kind of leads to my next point. What I've noticed with these super talented and driven entrepreneurs is they pick their times to work on themselves, right? So for example, like working out, I've noticed like for a lot of them, it's like this early AM workouts just to kind of knock it out of the day, get the intention rolling. And so I've seen that pattern. What are your thoughts on that?
I talked about this last week too. I always work out first thing in the morning. I've found that this just works best for me. I've actually tried a lot of different approaches. I've tried working out in the evening. I've tried working out in the afternoon around lunchtime. So I'll try something for a while and see how I feel and then kind of adapt to see how I'm most productive. When I work out first thing in the morning, it kind of gets my brain going. It gets my creative
warmed up. Yep.
I have that energy to move forward and be productive and be efficient first thing in the morning. So when it comes to the mental health side of things, you've already prioritized yourself. So then you can feel good about having made that input, that commitment to yourself first thing in the morning, gotten your workout in, expended energy. Maybe you're working on building muscle, maybe you're working on cutting fat, but you're working toward that goal, whether it's physical or mental, emotional, both.
No, it's funny you mentioned that because it makes me remember a video post from The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And he was addressing the LA Lakers. And he was talking about how his 4 a.m. workouts serve as his anchor for just every day without miss. He hits that. He also kind of has this mental trick where he kind of remembers where he started and he remembers kind of the struggles, transitioning from pro football to wrestling to the acting world. But that 4 a.m. workout allows him to anchor in maximal output throughout the rest of the day, right? So long as he gets it, he feels on point, he has high energy, and he's just ready to go. And he doesn't miss it, right? But if he were to miss it, it would kind of cause a little bit of an issue, right? And so what's interesting about this, getting 1,000 hours a week, productivity out while still sleeping 8 hours a week, is what's interesting about that is thinking about like prioritization, like optimization, like delegation, right? And just getting a team of experts that can help you, right? In all constraints. And sometimes as business owners and founders and entrepreneurs, you have a hard time saying like, hey, look, I need help, right? Like, I think the easiest way to kind of start making momentum in that process is get some help if it's on the longevity side and therapeutic side, the coaching side, the accountability, like the accounting, legal, like whatever you need help with, right? It's like, talk to the experts, right? There are somebody who's been out there in your shoes or is a year or 2 years or like, metrics ahead of you that can give you some feedback on what to do, what not to do, right? And really find a way to kind of maximize your output and kind of lead your best life.
When I first started getting into exercise, something that I really struggled with was knowing what to do and when and where to prioritize, where to focus my energy. And that's something I think a lot of people who maybe aren't as familiar with exercise, or if they're busy with a lot of different things, maybe they don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about that. I know I would spend a lot of time just because I'm very data driven. I would write out my workouts, like percentages and sets and reps and that kind of thing. And I would try to optimize for the most efficient way to do this. But that takes a lot of time. And kind of the benefit with working with a longevity program and with Summa Up is that it's not
off your plate so that you can focus on like selling more clients and you can focus on maybe what's kind of holding you back, right? I think that's interesting, right? The 80-20, right? And sometimes it's not even 80-20. It's almost like 95-5, the 80-20 principle being, hey, look, 80% of your results come from 20% of activities. In the age of infinite leverage, I think in this age of, and I don't like to say infinite distraction, I think it's actually 1%, right? So if you focus on the 1%, like sometimes 1% of your activities move 99% of your results, right? 5% move 95%, right?
Yeah.
Just because we have so much technology and tools and distribution ability in this day and age. And I think being able to really add leverage, right? Leverage your time and leverage your team and leverage your culture, right? Can really amplify and help you get to 6 figures or 7 figures or 8 figures. And it's not about the money per se. These are just metrics that show how much value you're creating in the universe, right? I think, top line and profit and free cash flow, what you get is merely the applause from the marketplace. I think that's kind of our kind of summary for today. I will catch you next week, Stephanie.